Okay, imagine this. You're out somewhere, maybe Brazil, brushing dust off some rock, and boom, it's not just rock, it's bone. A clue to some truly enormous creature from the past.
It really is like the ultimate puzzle, piecing together these ancient giants from, well, sometimes very little.
Exactly. And that's what we're doing today. We're taking a deep dive into Adamantisaurus. Now, this was a Titanosaurian sauropod.
Right, one of those big, long-necked, long-tailed plant eaters. Lived during the Late Cretaceous down in South America.
But here's the thing, the mystery part, the evidence is, oh, it's pretty minimal, isn't it?
Very minimal. We're talking about just six tail vertebrae and two chevrons, which are small bones under the tail vertebrae. That's it.
Wow, 6 tailbones and 2 chevrons.
Yeah. It really highlights, the challenge. Paleontologists have to make some big assumptions, some educated guesses based on scraps like these.
For sure, so no majestic full skeleton here. Our mission today is really to unpack what we can figure out from those few pieces and explore the questions that remain.
And we'll try to keep it clear and, engaging for you, the listener, not get too bogged down in the really technical jargon.
Right. So where does the story of Adamantosaurus even begin? With the discovery, I guess.
Well, the bones themselves were actually noticed quite a while ago. A Brazilian geologist, Sergio Mezzalera, mentioned them in writing way back in 1959.
1959.
Yeah.
But it wasn't named then.
No, not officially. It took until 2006 for two paleontologists, Rodrigo Santucci and Rinaldo Bertini, to formally describe it and give it its name.
Okay, so what's in the name? Adamantosaurus.
It tells you where it's from. The Adamanti part refers to the Adamantina Formation. That's the geological layer in São Paulo, Brazil, where they found the fossils.
And saurus is just Greek for lizard, the standard ending.
Exactly. And the species name, Mezzalerae, that's a nod to Sergio Mezzalera.
Ah, honoring the original discoverer. That's nice.
It is. Shows how science builds over time, And a little fun fact, Adamantisaurus was actually the very first dinosaur to be officially named in the year 2006.
Huh. Kicking off the year for dino discoveries. Okay, so we know where and when it got its name.
Yeah.
But the big question, what did it look like? And this is where that poorly known label really hits home.
Absolutely. I mean, because it's a sauropod, we can make some basic assumptions. It was definitely large, walked on 4 legs, ate plants, had the long neck, long tail, that classic sauropod body plan.
That much we can probably bank on. But the size, how big are we talking?
Well, that's where it gets tricky. There are different estimates out there based on those few bones. Gregory S. Paul, back in 2010, suggested something like 13 meters long, about 43 feet, and maybe 5 tons.
Okay, 13 meters, 5 tons, manageable giant.
But then you've got a more recent estimate from 2020 by Melina Perez and Lara Mendy. They calculated it could have been significantly larger.
How much larger?
18 meters, so closer to 60 feet long.
Yeah.
And weighing maybe 14.4 tons. That's quite a bit heavier.
Yeah, that's a huge difference. Nearly 3 times the weight estimate. How can estimates vary so much from just tailbones?
It really comes down to how you scale things up from incomplete remains. Different assumptions about body proportions lead to different results. Because we only have the front part of the tail, the general thinking now is it was probably a medium-sized titanosaur.
Okay, medium-sized. But those wildly different numbers show just how much guesswork is sometimes involved.
It really does. It's a testament to the uncertainty when you're dealing with, fragments.
So let's try and place it on the bigger dinosaur family tree. Classification time.
Right. So going up the ladder, it's an animal, specifically a chordate, meaning it has a backbone. Then clade Dinosauria, obviously.
Then Saurischia, the lizard-hipped ones. Sauropodomorpha, the long-neck lineage. And Sauropoda, the true giants.
Exactly. Then getting more specific, Macronaria, Titanosauria, which is the dominant group of sauropods in the late Cretaceous, especially in the southern hemisphere.
Then finally, Lithostrotia. That's a subgroup within Titanosauria, right?
Yes. But the sources are clear. Figuring out its exact spot within Titanosauria or even Lithostrotia is tough because, again, the fossils are so limited.
Right. Do we have any clues about potential close relatives?
Well, some similarities have been noted with Aelosaurus, another South American titanosaur, and also with the titanosaur from the same Bauru group that used to be called the Pyropolis titanosaur.
Which is now called Trigonosaurus, I believe.
That's the one, Trigonosaurus. So yeah, there are hints it might be related to other titanosaurs from that region.
Okay. And what about this derived concept? The script mentioned it being more derived than Malosaurus.
Ah, right. So derived just means it has features that evolved later, making it sort of more advanced evolutionarily compared to a more basal or ancestral form like Malosaurus.
And the clue is in the tailbones.
Yes, the way the vertebrae connect. Adamantisaurus has what's called a procallus condition in his front tail vertebrae, basically a ball and socket joint with the socket facing forward. This suggests maybe more tail flexibility.
Okay. And that feature helps place it.
It helps place it within that Lithostrautia group. The source says all titanosaurs, at least as derived as Malosaurus, are considered Lithostrautia.
So it's definitely in Lithostratia. But where exactly within that group? Still blurry.
Very blurry. Its precise relationships remain unclear. And interestingly, even though another titanosaur, Brecellata 10, was found in the same Adamantina formation,
You can't compare them directly.
apparently not yet. The known bones from each dinosaur probably don't overlap. We don't have the same pieces for both, so you can't do a proper side-by-side anatomical comparison.
Frustrating, like having pieces from two different puzzles, as you said before. Okay, let's shift to the environment. Where did Adamantisaurus live?
So as we said, the fossils come from the Adamantina Formation in Brazil. And that formation is part of a much larger geological package called the Bauru Group.
And the Bauru group is pretty famous for late Cretaceous fossils in South America.
Oh, absolutely. It's a really important window into that time. Now, the exact dating and layering, the stratigraphy within the Bauru Group is still being worked out. Research is ongoing.
But generally, we're talking late Cretaceous.
Yes, the Adamantina Formation itself is thought to date somewhere between maybe in 93 and 70 million years ago. So definitely the later part of the dinosaur age.
And it wasn't alone out there, was it?
No, the environment it lived in was also home to at least one other titanosaur called Gondwanatitem.
Two different titanosaurs in the same place.
Seems like it. Which is interesting ecologically. It suggests maybe they weren't directly competing, perhaps eating slightly different plants or living in slightly different parts of the habitat. Some form of niche partitioning, you know?
Right. So even with just these few bones, what's the real significance of Adamantisaurus? Why does it matter?
Well, despite the challenges, it still tells us something important. It adds another data point, another piece of evidence showing the diversity of titanosaur life in South America during the Late Cretaceous.
Even a poorly known species expands our understanding of the ecosystem.
Exactly. And trying to figure out its classification, even if it's difficult, helps refine our picture of how these massive animals evolved and spread across the continent.
So the ongoing research is still valuable, even with limited material.
Definitely. Every fossil, no matter how incomplete, potentially holds clues. The very existence of Adamantisaurus, just knowing it was there, adds a piece to that enormous jigsaw puzzle of Earth's history.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. What are the key takeaways on Adamantisaurus?
All right. Adamantisaurus was likely a medium-sized titanosaurian sauropod. It lived in what's now Brazil during the Late Cretaceous period.
Known only from a very small number of tail bones. 6 vertebrae, 2 chevrons. Makes it pretty enigmatic.
Right. Its exact position on the family tree is uncertain, but it seems to be part of the Lithostrautia group, possibly related to other South American forms like Elosaurus or Trigonosaurus, more derived than Malosaurus.
So here's something to chew on as we finish. Think about it. From just these few fragments, maybe about the size of your hand or a bit bigger, scientists reconstruct this creature potentially 18 meters long.
It's quite incredible, the power of comparative anatomy and inference.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, what else is still buried out there in the Adamantina Formation? What other giants, what other secrets are just waiting for that lucky paleontologist with a brush?
It definitely fuels the imagination and highlights the sheer excitement and, frankly, the hard work involved in piecing together our planet's incredibly deep past.